read your paper. The journal editor that you wish to publish in will read your paper. And that is a very important person. He or she has a big impact on whether your paper can be published or not. So you might not think of the editor being part of your audience, but that editor is a very important person. As are the journal reviewers or the referees. And they're sometimes called the gatekeeper because they either accept or reject your manuscript. In my journal, I will talk about that in a minute. So there are a lot of rewards when you publish. You can get a lot of satisfaction at seeing your hard work, your research work. Whether you're a staff member or a student, when you publish, seeing your work in print, seeing your name in a journal is very exciting, very rewarding. You feel good about that. You will get cited by others, and increasingly, the number of times your work is cited, quoted by other people, the more likely you are to get promoted in a university like this university, and indeed in other universities in Thailand. Another reward is that you are contributing to the research outputs in your country. So you can feel proud about the contribution that Thailand makes to mango research, or orchid research, or the production of leafy vegetables. You can feel very proud about that when you see your paper in print. You may contribute to an industry making more money, achieving more exports, getting access to markets that you didn't have before. And there's a lot of satisfaction around that. If you're good, you will develop an international reputation. People will say, I know that person, I've read their papers, and they always publish good work. So you get known internationally, and you get invited to conferences. You get invited to go and work with people in their labs. You can get promoted, or you can get a bonus in your salary. So there's plenty of incentives, plenty of good reasons why you should pay lots of attention in this course. Lots of good reasons why you should publish good scientific manuscripts. Lots of reasons which make you feel good, increase your reputation, and increase your chance of being promoted. And those things are not optional anymore in science, if they ever were. But there are a lot of challenges. Some of these challenges are very significant. Not all research is new. In fact, it's very difficult to be original and creative. It's very easy to copy somebody else's research on a different species or a different cultivar. But it's quite difficult to do something that's really exciting and new. And journals are more likely to publish something that's new compared with something that's just copying what's already been done. So not all research is new, and that is a challenge to getting published. Not all research makes a big impact. You read a paper and you say, well, I think I knew all of that. They might have added a little bit of knowledge, but not very much. So again, journals are looking for papers that are significant, that really make a change to our understanding and research. Experiments don't always produce positive results, but it might be important to nonetheless publish to stop people repeating, going down that same pathway and not making progress. Scientific journals are very, very, very selective. A lot of you will know about the journal called Nature. Nature rejects about 95% of the manuscripts that are submitted to it. I'm the editor of a tiny journal in America, 4 volumes a year, about 6 papers per volume. But I reject 40% of the manuscripts that I receive. Nearly half of them. So journals are very selective. You need to think about that when you're publishing, and we'll talk later in the course about how you can manage that to help you get accepted. Scientific writing is not easy. It's complex and challenging. And I hope I can give you some directions in the course that will make that a little bit easier. And I don't need to tell you this because you know English language is very difficult, right? I'm not here this week to teach you English. You have to help yourself with that. But I will help you, as long as your English is good, get a good scientific paper prepared. So the rewards are obvious. You feel good, you get promoted. I said before that publishing, if you're in science, publishing is not optional, it's compulsory. So you can't run away and hide because your director, your head of department, your boss in later life will be expecting you to publish every year. Otherwise you won't keep in your job or you won't get promoted. Now think about this for a moment. Top scientists publish about 150 papers in their careers. That's one paper every 3 or 4 months for 40 years. One paper every 3 or 4 months for 40 years. So you'd better learn how to do it, or you won't be a top scientist. That includes the ones that their students write, I might say. So you do need to know, you do need to learn, you do need to focus on publishing effectively and efficiently. You don't want to have to go back and rewrite a manuscript because the journal hasn't accepted it. You don't want to go back and reformat the paper because you haven't followed the journal style. Every time that manuscript comes back to you from the journal, you waste somewhere between 1 and 3 months. If indeed the journal will keep corresponding with you. Typically, if your manuscript is not right the first time, they will reject it. So then you have to go to another journal. That's another month, 2 months, 3 months as you work through their process. That's what I mean by efficiency. You need to learn how to do this well and do it right the first time. So writing papers is not easy. We've talked about that, the issue of scientific writing being challenging, English being difficult. So writing papers isn't easy. You need a good commitment. You really need good concentration when you're writing a paper. Focus, focus, focus. You need good planning and good organization, and I'll show you how you can organize yourself in the different sections of a manuscript to give yourself some structure that you can work to. You obviously need a good understanding of the literature, and that doesn't mean just sitting at your computer or your smartphone looking up electronic databases. You do need to go to the library, you do need to do a lot of reading. And by the way, the photocopier doesn't read the paper, you have to do that. So just because you're copying lots of articles doesn't make any difference, you have to read them. And you do need a good understanding of the journal's style requirements. The bottom line here is very, very important. It doesn't matter who it is, another scientist, the editor, the journal referees, you cannot make them read your paper. You cannot make somebody read your paper. You can make them interested so they keep reading it. You can present it well so they keep reading it. You can make it free of errors so they keep reading it, but you cannot make them read it. Even in your lives as students, you have more manuscripts to read than you have time in the day to get through, right? So you have to make it easy for people to want to read your paper. We'll talk about this again later. You cannot make somebody read your paper. So, before you start writing, even before you start doing experiments, it's important that you prepare yourselves well. And I'm sure that your supervisors are very good at telling you to go and read the literature. Read what other people have published and learn from that, and design your experiments that are as good as, if not better than, the experiments that you've read about. Read the literature. Really try and understand the results from other people, because you're going to publish something that has to show that you've made an advance in understanding. So if you don't understand where other people have got to with their results, how are you going to show improvement over that? So you must have a good understanding, you must have a good development of knowledge around all of the work that other people have done in your field. That includes experimental design and methods. Don't be surprised if a journal rejects you because you haven't replicated something properly, or you haven't shown how you calibrated the equipment, or you took care of the variation across some field plots by using a randomized complete block design or something like that. Don't say that you used a particular statistical package in a particular way that's not consistent with what you said about your experimental design. So you really need to understand and build on other people's research designs, methods, ways of analysing data, and so on. Because referees and journal editors will quickly work out if you've done something that isn't correct. You need to plan well. You need to have good people around you. Good supervisors. And I'm sorry to say this in front of staff, but if your current supervisors are not good enough, look for some other staff that can help you in a particular area that you're in. Try and get them onto your committee as well. If you're a staff member, look at how you might work collegially with other colleagues in the department. Because if you've got good collaborators and good colleagues, you'll make more progress than just working on your own. And try and get access to good facilities. That's difficult, but people are normally happy to share, and you just need to show them that you're going to be responsible if you are going to use their equipment or some stuff in their lab. And the big challenge for a lot of us is to try and get good funding so that you can replicate, so that you can buy the best equipment, so you can buy the chemicals that you need, and so on. And keep working on your English language. Now the course that we're going to be covering is covered with a textbook. Dr. Pongfen has a copy of that. And you'll see that I continue to cite it. Why do I cite it? Because I'm using it, and I don't want to be accused of plagiarism, of using something without acknowledging it. We're going to be talking about plagiarism later when we talk about scientific writing. All right, any questions at that point?